I was asked to present some views and beliefs on cloud computing future, but I didn't want to have the boring title, so I went full American and came up with something like that. So this is quite maybe not opinionated, but yeah, it's based on research and the market that we see in Nordcloud past 9 years and how public cloud is evolving. So a bit about me, not too much. My name is Dariusz Dwornikowski, but it's better for foreigners to just call me Darek. I'm global head of engineering at Nordcloud group. I'm also in the leadership team of the whole group. Basically, Nordcloud in Poland and opening, ramping up to 90 people. It's partially my fault. I started this and then it now runs on itself. I was 10 years, still am, in computer science research, Poznań University of Technology, teaching cloud and networking, 16 maybe more years in IT, doing infra, software, everything. Right? So I have basically 3 backgrounds. So I joined the 3 worlds: software, infrastructure. I did servers in the past. I was, sysop. I was software dude and so on. If you want to follow me on Twitter, I'm 71. It's TDI in Hack Talk, right? I come from Nordcloud. We are the public cloud, consultancy provider. So we do end-to-end delivery, beginning with design services and ending with managed services. So we have offices everywhere. The red thingy shows where my office is, Poznań. It's 300 kilometers to the east, to the west. And we have also office in Warsaw, but it's not a marketing speech, so it's just for you to know. We come from Nordics, from Helsinki, but we are a European company. So today, what I would like to talk about is a bit what we see and what I'm a lot of thinking about past years. So where are we going with all this, cloud native and public cloud? I'm quite I'm public cloud biased because we are mostly working in public cloud. That doesn't mean we don't touch hybrid, for example. But I am a public cloud true believer. So I'm biased, but I have my evidences, right? I will try to show you, or maybe not convince you, because I think some findings might be controversial, but I will try to tell you how I think, based on some research and on what we see in markets evolving in the West, how I think the public cloud, to which direction it will be going. Right? But to know where we go, I think we need to see where the value is created. So to say, maybe simple words, follow the money, right? And so let's start with an app, right? This is a very simplistic view of what value is, right? So companies who create applications and then users use the applications, the value is created through the app, right? Or created, so basically we provide a service through an application and we monetize maybe somehow. It doesn't have to be like a direct revenue link. So we have a user that uses the application and we get some money somewhere in a value chain, right? More users we have, then hopefully the business scales and we create more value and we create more money, and then this money can fund something. So this is very simplistic view, right, of how you earn money, but it's a basis for the discussion. This is of course true for digital companies, right, mostly. So it's not true for, forestry, right, where they cut trees. Their application is something else. So what's the need of an app, right? So if you think about applications, I think you are mostly everybody's mostly close to engineering or some kind of technology here. So what app needs is, right, development. So you need to build an app. You need to have some people, developers, maybe maybe some back-end developers, for sure some front-end developers these days, maybe mobile developers, you need product owners and so on, right? So this is development, right? So the factory behind the app. Then you need some platform or infrastructure, to call it maybe, to run it. Yeah? Doesn't matter, is it like, 5 servers in your server room, or is it like Azure or I don't know, Google Cloud Platform or AWS, to name the big 3. And then you need some business support, so commercialization, right? Sales engineering, DEX, and all that crap. So let's focus on the development and platform, because basically business support is something that you always need. So when you think about it, what was the goal of IT? Right? In the past, and in many companies nowadays, the IT was treated peripherally. So it wasn't the main core business, right? It was something that keeps the lights on, like, I don't know, electricity of the building. So when the lights are down, yeah, not really is a problem. We can go back to work or work somewhere else, but IT was something like back office, right? And now, thanks to digital transformation, who heard digital transformation and thinks it's a bullshit? Hands up. Yeah, not a bit. Okay. So digital transformation, I know it's a buzzword, business people love it, but it's a real thing, right? It's transforming businesses. I call it DX, but it's more, cooler. So in digital transformation, the goal is to transform the business of the company, either the existing one or create new businesses that are digital. And basically what it means is that it creates a direct link from IT, like very broadly, like IT, so development, infra maybe, so, to the business. So you can directly link revenue from your apps, maybe, or whatever you build there, to the IT. So for example, as evidence, there is this, I don't know, it's a blog post, but it's based on many companies that did research, like Google, New York Times. So site speed, if you are like a content company, or you are like e-commerce shop, right? Site speed basically is very linked to revenue. New York Times made this research that they lose people because there are some latencies on the pages. And the more latencies you get, so you go deeper, and then the first page had latency, yeah, I'm hungry, 80% people left, for example. But 20 stayed. But the next page, when it loads again slowly, then more people exit, right? So this is directly linked to the revenue of the newspaper, because in content business, content is everything, right? You serve content, you don't have users, it's pointless, Content not consumed is nothing. Same with e-commerce, like, I don't know, Allegro or eBay, these companies, right? Shops, they lose revenue when they have some scaling problems or latency problems in the shop, because people drop out of the shopping basket. Who left the site angry because something was bad there, and I don't know, you went somewhere else? Probably everybody, right? Yeah, I did the same many times. Like, I don't know, train tickets buying to Warsaw in Polish railways site. But then again, I needed that, so after some time I went back. Okay, so this is how IT links to the revenue. So it's no longer some people sitting in the basement, being angry at the world because everybody else is angry at them. This is business, right? So if your site goes down, money goes down. So IT is a king again, right? So this is one of the examples, right? Site speed. You can check I hope the decks will be available later, so we can check that at a small link, but this is basically from Macmetrics blog. There are a lot of other examples like Google. This is unbelievable, but for every 100 millisecond latency, Google loses, added to the search site, Google loses 20% of traffic. This is like really what the hell, right? This is how basically IT, so also infra, is linked to the revenue. But, so what is this digital transformation, like in this context? So I don't like, if you Google, or I don't know, Bing, or whatever you do, or DuckDuckGo, digital transformation, you will get a lot of slides from big analyst companies, or I don't know, Accenture. Not always this is very easy to consume, right, for engineers. So this is a TLDC, so too long, don't care version. Basically what you have is like legacy business, if you are a normal company. I don't know, for example, you are a retail company. You have shops, right? The physical shops, you sell dresses, or I don't know, tracksuits. This is actually very prominent example because we are at Nordcloud in quite many of these kinds of transformation of clothing retail. And then you notice that, yeah, world is changing. Consumers want to buy online fast. They want to, return, which is not really ecological. But so you need to act. And you notice that 5% of your revenue is only from online. So you hire some consultancy company like, I don't know, Nordcloud, Accenture, or Container Solutions, whoever, Delta Blue, right? You can help also. And you start this digital transformation. So basically you have legacy business. This is the creating clothes and selling them in shops physically. And you get money from that, You are, it's not a bad business if you have, I don't know, 1,000 shops in the world. So you fund new project with the money coming from legacy to make it digital. So move, for example, your goal is, I don't know, have at least 80% of revenue from online sales. So you fund all these new projects, apps. They need infra, probably, right? You move how you work, the culture. I don't know, you move to the squad model, the Spotify matrix model. Or you move, you change the mindset, you try to change the culture. This is also needed. Digital transformation is not about technology only. And you start funding the digital, But as every investment, it needs to give some money back, right, after some time. So there's a lot of failed digital transformations because after some time, maybe this digital is not giving back. It's mostly caused, in my experience, by cultural problems, not by technological. So people don't want digital. I will lose my job in a data center, or I will lose my job as a head of data center because we're moving to cloud or whatever. So there are a lot of forces, like just individual forces and many stuff. So you need to change this culture also. And then after some time, this is basically end game in the picture. After some time, the idea is that this digital will start funding itself. So you no longer need to push money from the legacy. Okay. So you no longer need the money from legacy to push to digital to fund it. It starts to fund itself, and then you have still money from legacy, or you're starting to kill the legacy. And what is then should happen is that digital will eat the legacy, and you will grow into the areas that you never thought of it. So I know banks, and we like to do projects in banks. This is a fun sector, FSI. So banks in Finland that we work for, they have in their strategy written that core banking, as we know it, will cease to exist for various reasons, right? You all use some neobanks probably now. This is also some kind of, I don't know, basically some kind of new way of banking. Like you don't want to go to a physical location and talk to some dude there for 2 hours to open an account, right? You want fast, you want it now, you want low cost of transactions, for example. So banks, they know that core banking will cease to exist, so they create a hell lot of projects outside core banking, like car sharing, I don't know, the thing is scooters, right, sharing, some microloans programs, something not really directly linked to core banking. And the assumption is these projects need to fund themselves, at least in the beginning. So for that, if you experiment with the new stuff in digital transformation and do it as a new investment, because at the first, as I said, this is a cost, you need basically to verify that it succeeds very fast, right? So how can you accelerate this digital transformation? That's the question, and that's what we asked ourselves when building the Nordcloud group strategy, right? So we want to accelerate this digital transformation. And in about, I don't know, hundreds of projects where we participated in things like that, public cloud was like a bit of like a good choice, right? Because you can fast go there, kill it when it's not bringing any money, and that's it. So, you know, all these buzzwords, CapEx, OpEx, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, but, okay. I need to switch the weather forecast, never saw that. So, this is like a very, very mind-blowing, right? So IDC, they have a report where they believe, which is saying we did not really measure, right? But, you know, we use the, you know, ceiling, desk, ceiling method. So you look at the ceiling, then you look at the desk, then you look at the ceiling again and say some number, right? So this is estimating stuff. So, but this is not, even if this is off by 200 million or I don't know, 5 times, then it's really true, right? By 2023, 500 million new apps will be created. And this is equal to the number that was built over the past 40 years, which basically means ever, right? So just think about it, right? Where to put that? And most of it, it's not some thingy that somebody thought through, right? These are startups. These are things that you build at home because you want to, I don't know, have you have idea and you can build fast with, I don't know, new low-code technologies. Or these are the products of digital transformations of big companies that create tens of projects in parallel to verify because they have all the money in the world, right? Bank basically is made of money, right? They can dedicate. I know banks, like one bank in Finland, not that big, they put 500 million yearly to these new things that they research and build. And so how can you accelerate that? How can you accommodate all these applications in a cost-effective way and basically in an effective way? So the DX can be faster, and that's the hypothesis. And we believe in that strongly, and I do too, with public cloud and basically cloud. Yeah, all these yada yada things, you know, right? Everybody talks about time to market, but actually it's about time to value, no time to market. Time to market is when you compete in a, you know, red ocean, and you need to be faster than your competitor with your new app, you know, add new thingy to the application because your cat, I don't know, cat dating app has better UI or something than the other cat dating app. So lower TCO, total cost of ownership, this is the king in the digital transformation measure because you need to be fast with that and kill, you know, the precious baby when it's not bringing money, even though it's so cool and has React all over it. And cloud gives innovations at hand, so you no longer need to have 20 machine learning experts. You need one, maybe, who can wire the boxes of the cloud offerings and AI. So, and you need agility Right? Agility is one of the, and being agile is one of the most abused words in the world. So what does it mean, agile, right? Agile means that you constantly verify what you do, and you non-stop, challenge it with the changing the commercial environment. This is being agile in business. So yeah, maybe my cat dating app is not that good because, for example, Tinder, if they are agile, they probably notice that Facebook dating will be released, right? So it's, okay, 2 billion users platform, already with pics, because people put nice pics already there. They are adding dating, right? Let's reevaluate our business model. So maybe Docker Incorporated could be more agile. You remember the company? Yeah, still? Okay. So what is the key, absolutely, I think, in this context, to be more, faster with this digital transformation and faster to value, because this is the core. Remember, I talked about value, is being dev-centric. So what do developers do, right? Development teams, they build apps, but they can build up with all the irrelevant stuff around. Like, I don't know, build, whoever worked in IT, 10 years ago in development, I think if you ever been in a project with, Django and Ruby on Rails or something, before all the libraries that were already present, then everybody started new project with, let's create a users table and groups and, let's write an authentication, engine. Now you don't need that crap anymore, right? So dev-centric. So we can, the idea about dev-centric is about that as much as lines of code, colloquially, produced are linked directly to business. So you write business logic. You don't write, yet another library for logging because you just felt like it. So generating value for the app. That's why irrelevant things should be abstracted out. There's a famous quote, forgot by whom, so it's a bit of disappointing, but it's about C language, that the higher level, the higher abstraction languages, they take out irrelevant from the developer, right? So who is allocating memory now, right? If you are not embedded developer. Because I don't really care that much for that. Maybe you optimize for allocated memory if you run a platform and your site speed is linked to revenue, and every 1% is saving money for costs, so you get more revenue, but not really a problem now. So this is something that is the key, and I think this is something that is the seed of what will happen in public cloud. I wanted to say strategic time, let's say horizon, but William had sci-fi, looking into the future. Keynote that is maybe more tactical, but in public cloud, 1 year is like 20 years somewhere else. So again, broke. So what's in this future? So let's see. So I think future of cloud is even less infra. This is a mind trick that hyperscalers, and by hyperscalers I mean Microsoft, Amazon, and Google, they are playing on you. So all this infra there is a mind trick. It's actually what is cloud, public cloud platform. Public cloud platform is a huge API that you consume. And if you create a VM, the concept of a VM is there because of these horses that William mentioned and the Tesla knows, right? Because you know the lingo from the on-prem. So you need to give the same lingo to people who move from on-prem. It's about job security, job moving, right? They need to understand, okay, this is the VM, the same as I have in VMware or Hyper-V. So this is a mind trick, if you think about it. It's like automating APIs. In Nordcloud, we cannot do, clicka, IATs, infrastructure as click. Our CAs, cloud architects, need to always use infrastructure as a code or some higher level tools. You can see also some kind of revolution in that sense, because AWS CDK is moving stuff to the higher abstraction. So we use higher level languages to basically not even describe infra. It's wrong thinking. It's to have app that is interwoven with everything around. So I think if we start thinking out of the box and treating public cloud and all that infra as basically API, then we will achieve better things. So think like that. So as we know it, there always will be some infra, right? Where you have interconnectivity with, for example, data center in your AD, on premises or something. But if you go greengrass projects, you really don't need to think about all that stuff. It's just consuming APIs and talking to them and maybe waiting a bit longer for return because VM is creating or Windows VM is creating than 30 minutes or something. But this is less infra. And if somebody was in AWS, I don't know, 5 years ago, you remember, it was all about VMs, Chef, Puppet, and then next, Chef, Puppet, next. Now it's all about wiring stuff, automating, gluing things that are not there with, I don't know, lambdas or whatever. Azure is also solving all this crappy stuff, infra-related, right? But they still need to give you this feeling that you are in a known scenery, right? VM, I saw that. Yeah, it's known stuff. This is not like some weird animal. I know it. But it will cease to exist at some point, hopefully. Okay. I think that Kubernetes is a transition technology. So yeah, sorry for that. I know it is a very controversial statement at this conference. In public cloud especially, but that's for the next slide. So basically I think, and we bet on it, and we are doing that, I think that Kubernetes, when it's stabilized, finally, because now it's like in the ecosystem is just madness, right? There's no absolutely operational awareness how to run these clusters without dedicated team. So I think that Kubernetes will finally make workloads truly portable. For that, you will need also, between public clouds and on-prem maybe. But for that, you need to have hide the intestines, right? You need to be more. It needs to provide more tooling maybe that hides the YAML. So I don't want to be YAML developer, but when you deal with Kubernetes, you basically are. So I would like to see serverless, and I don't want to argue what serverless is because it's just not thinking about irrelevant in my book, but I want to have functions running there without thinking that there are some bullshit nodes or pods or whatever. And then I want to say, yeah, now run it in my on-prem, and yeah, now run it in GCP. Now it's not fully portable. You need to put a lot of work still because the APIs of public cloud platforms are different, but this is also going to change. So I think this is a real opportunity. I think this is the time horizon 2 years. So Google Anthos and Google will solve some stuff with Knative, hopefully. Keda from Microsoft is also nice for that stuff. And Spring Cloud is also abstracting a lot of, madness that you need to think about as an app when you run on Kubernetes. You can kick me later because I'm touching very touchy subject here, right? This is something that is what we see as a business booming. So 3 years ago, the last bastion of not moving to cloud was SAP. Now we are moving a lot of this, right? Because public cloud created VMs that were very big with 16 terabyte RAM or something. They are called something standard, blah, 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 but they should be called SAP HANA instances, right? Nobody believes that it's for anything else. And so we've done a lot of automation for SAP on Azure, for example. So that was the Bastion. Now SAP is in the cloud, nobody argues with that. You can move it there. But the last Bastion is, for example, the legacy that you bought from somebody, and there's a closed source thingy. So I know in Kubernetes container cool world, greengrass projects, you can build everything. But when you are a company with 700 parallel running applications, bought or new ones, and your Jenkins cluster is 5 racks, because I know companies like that, then you really cannot say, yeah, let's move it to one Kubernetes, and I don't know, let's use this because it's cool. These ITs need to have business continuities, these companies, right? So, but I strongly believe, and this is something that I also talk, let's say, with one of our partners that is very interested in Kubernetes, and basically they created it. So I think there will be this business opportunity. We are starting that to move legacy, like in a, don't like this word, lift and shift. It's more like lift and shit, because you lift and then it's shit, but in public cloud. So now the migration with modernization is something that you do. But imagine that, right? You have some, let's use case, yeah? Run retail company, they have thousands of shops in Poland. Map server, whatever it is, some thingy, closed source. Can you scale it? No. It's you cannot add another one, because then there's some weirdy cron-like thingy running in it, and it will destroy the consistency of the database. Okay. How you access it? Yeah, I access it like that. You don't even really want to know this madness. But imagine that if they go to Kubernetes and treat Kubernetes clusters as the way they run stuff, they can run new stuff there. But then they still need to maintain old processes for this kind of madness, vendor closed things. But if you could move this one huge VM and put it into this anti-pattern type of container, one huge container, no scaling, and put it in Kubernetes, in a pod, and add a sidecar there with API, fast written, under, I don't know, 2 days, that augments the functionality of the old thingy that never had an API, because, for example, you needed to log in there and, use some local exe in Windows 2000, I don't know, 2000 maybe. Then you can add it to your new stuff, right? Because then it becomes basically exposed as an API. And then you can go behind the scenes and kill it, bit by bit, move to the new. That was how SOAP basically was promising, right? But it failed like hell. I was in SOAP research, so it's my fault a bit. So I have 3 chapters in books about SOA. But it's it was really horrible, because when huge organizations say, nah, this is a good idea to create this standard, use it, then it never goes. That's why REST was better, because it came from the community. Okay, but let's go to the main thread. So this is a way that I think this is a huge money opportunity for people who can do that. So VM to container, that is bullshit big, move it to the Kubernetes. I think Velostrata is doing that when they migrate. By Velostrata, I mean Google, of course, because they bought it. So when they migrate to Kubernetes, the legacy VMs, they somehow do it on the go, but they don't want to share how. So yeah, open source people contribute something like that. I can pay any money. Okay, so this is something that we will see, because this also opens a door for big money, which is mainframes in banks, to move them to public cloud and contain them in single-threaded containers. Yeah, one German company is doing that only now. This is something that I strongly believe, because the history of IT is just shouting, this will happen. So cloud will commoditize APIs. I think all the APIs will converge into one standard. At some point they will come to one place, and they will say, yeah, we need one API. Maybe not the same, but one as in consumer side will be the same, because the semantics is the same. Start VM, stop VM, blah blah blah. So at least for IaaS, so old stuff, the API will be the same, and then they will start competing with added value. Like for example, Microsoft is doing a good job with AKS. They create a lot of stuff in open source that you can use anywhere. So like I think the Open Policy Agent talk is today or tomorrow, right? Gatekeepers as an example. So we can use Gatekeeper with OPA in open source project. You take open source thingy and then you run it in, I don't know, Minikube or somewhere with admission controller. Or you can use it in Azure AKS, and then you get a nice panel. It integrates with ARM policies and so on. So this is the added value, and it will happen with APIs. CNCF is working on something like Cloud Events, which is a standard. And this is a crucial stuff for all the event-based programming, not to say serverless again, but FAS, right? FAS needs to be triggered. It's event-based, the functions. But if you don't have, that's why the Lambda in AWS is so powerful, because the events, there's a lot of events that you can consume, and it integrates just like that. But think about Knative. You install some Kafka, and then you maintain Kafka, and then you need to feed somehow these events there. So if the event format is the same, then also these event hubs can be some kind of, I don't know, democratized. And then we can have functions that run, maybe the same events trigger Lambdas, the same events trigger functions in Kubernetes, and the same events trigger Azure functions or whatever else, somewhere else. I really like the idea about Knative because it gives this serverless thingy the perimeter, right? You know what you have, you know what you pay for, because it's bound in a cluster. AWS had this problem that it was very uncontrolled. Observability was hard with Lambdas. It's no longer like that, but it was in the past. So it was very hard to convince people to run huge workloads. We are running huge workloads. I think we are one of the biggest consumers of functions internally in our R&D in Nordcloud. Yeah, so this is how I think this will happen. We saw it many times, right? ISO OSI, a lot of standards in networking. Then they came together. Yeah, we need one interface in layers. This is how internet came to be, and all we are here, right? Because TCP/IP also was a sort of standard, but they were competing. Companies were competing in networking before, so you had, I don't know, 5 systems of networking in the 70s. It was like madness. I did not live at that time, so fortunately. But this commoditizing of APIs, I think it's already starting in a way. So abstractions. By the way, you know that abstraction. So who thinks that abstraction in IT is something, normal? That is like meh. Developers, right? They use abstractions, but it's actually, as a side note, was invented in IT to use abstractions and have abstractions. So it's not something that was always there. So it's a funny story, but for another talk. So I think low-code approaches will take over. We see that already. A lot of analysts confirm, like Gartner, that lack of skill, this is actually from IDC report, lack of skill will affect 90% of EU orgs by 2020. Why the hell we have these booths here, right? Because what? We don't need people to hire, or maybe we need, right? So a lot of companies have programs that move people from other sectors to IT very fast. We also had this Cloud University, still have. You need people to create apps. You need people to create apps because they create value. And if you bring this, magical wizardry to masses, more apps will be created. That's why low code is so important. And I'm not talking about some boxes that you move around and, connect, or maybe I am. I don't know. Maybe it will be like that. Flow computing, flow-based programming. is something that will be again, because it was researched, I think, in 80s. I don't know if you know, that's boxes, wires, and thinking in this kind of stuff, flow of control, but visualized. Like step functions in AWS is something like that to some extent, right? So this will be, and this is very short time horizon. It's already happening. So for example, I don't know, we are building that in Nordcloud. Our products are built with low code. Amplify in Amazon, this is like insane. Amplify start, what framework do you want to run? React, yeah, sure. Do you have, what IDE you have? VS Code, Vim, whatever? Yeah, VS Code, it's fine. Do you want API, sir? Yeah. REST, maybe GraphQL? Yeah, GraphQL. Authentication, authorization? Yeah, sure, Cognito. Bam, then you edit a GraphQL schema and you have backend, you have frontend, you have hosting in S3, VS Code opens, you just fill in the business logic because all the scaffolding of the accesses to the API is there. Authentication, authorization is there. This is how you build apps fast. My front-end leader in my R&D team, I'm running like small 20 people, R&D in Poland. So he was in a business typical, right? So 10 startups per year, rapid team development, right? Backends were in Ruby on Rails, whatever was hot at the time. And front-end was whatever was hot at the time, right? Let's argue about which framework is better later, but React. So he was building this about 10 a year. With Amplify, he said he could be building about 1 per week, right? So this is a roadmap tool that we have for our R&D. So the board said, yeah, your reports are crap. You're writing basically what you released. It's bullshit, right? We don't understand because we are business people. So we needed more like, page that people go there and see, yeah, like with this business, more themes that this will give you value because. And we built it under 3 hours, was it, right? Jakub, yeah. Jakub was also building that. So it's driven by CI/CD pipelines and Amplify in the front end. That's it. Right? Click, 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 done. And we have built quite a lot of more bigger things with Amplify. And it's not a toy, because I know like 70% is thinking, yeah, this is some bullshit toy scaffolder. No, it's not really, because it gives you the rapid development, but also quality. It just abstracts out the irrelevant from you, the authorization bullshit, right? Why do you need to write that or care for it? The accesses, the mutators in JavaScript or TypeScript or whatever you choose there, because it also asks for that. It also integrates with AI services of Amazon now. So yeah, I would like to use some video transcribe there. Bam, it's there. You just need to add it to your front end or whatever. So it's a bit faster, right, than creating your Kafka and then having 2 months into sprints to run your cube somewhere. Yeah, but I know microservices and containers are the bomb. Okay, so I think this is something, and this is what Gartner's saying, because it's already happening, that custom application development in-house, I'm talking big enterprises, right? Startups I don't deal with. They are their own small things with value. So the custom app in-house development will eat into vendor-provided closed apps. You remember this map server I was talking about? This will die. You will soon be able to build your own under 1 week. Maybe it will not be the coolest, right? But it will be providing the value. And you will build it under a week. And you will not have to run half of a DC to maintain it. And then notice that nobody is using that, and then be left with servers that already are underappreciated fiscally. So this is also needed because hyperscalers, they need users. It's maybe shocking, but all these companies that promote super cool, yeah, open source and everything. They promote it for a reason, because people build stuff that runs on their platforms that gives them money. So that's why they need users. And by users, I don't mean people who click, but people who do maybe better slides up or something, because this is not working. Horrible. By the way, the stories are written in Nordcloud engineering blog. So if you are interested, it's medium Nordcloud-engineering. It's not marketing, it's just pure tech stuff, right? It came from our developers. They wanted to share their ideas. So roles will change, right? We are already hiring different profile, because why not? Yeah, I'm a big consultancy company, so I can change the rhetorics of the employee market. So builders will be needed and are needed. It's no longer, infra guy or front-end guy or infra lady. It's about builder. You need to understand the blocks and connect them fast with a bit of code. Not much. You don't need to be full-blown developer. You need to be a builder. This is something that Werner von Vogels was saying, right? CTO of Amazon. But I think we need even more. It's like something, it's something like, SRE, right? I don't think it's revolution anymore, but it was a bit in Google, right? So not evolution, for sure it was revolution. So they thought, if you have a problem, basically, then either you try to optimize this horse to be a race car, which is not really, or you're starting to, you want to change completely the narrative, right? So Google did that with SRE. They just started, what if developers run stuff? Yeah, I have developers who I guarantee you, like after 3 days, everything will be automated because they hate repetitive stuff. So the same needs to happen on the dev side for the infra part. So we need developers who are more intimate with wiring stuff that it was considered infra because it's in the cloud or something like that. So you need to be also more, this is also very needed, and I think we've been seeing a lot of talk about how developers need to change, and the soft skills are the core skills now, because I believe truly that it is the fact, that you need to understand what value you need to produce in order to at all build stuff. So this is something like, I don't know, if a solution architect, infra architect, and developer had a baby in some way, this would be that, right? With passion on top of that, right? So just if you are companies, change how you hire and who you hire and how you help people become that, because this is the future. Servers is not the future, it's the grave. And the rest, like the last one, to make you angry, fanboys of Kubernetes. I think that in public cloud, not anywhere else, I think Kube will cease to exist as we know it. Because why? You need to care about the stupid nodes, right? I don't want to be back in this. I was there in on-prem, then I was running my colocation, right? I was there in public cloud, in VMs. I was there in this digital ocean hosting, right? I don't want to be running super complicated scheduler with Raft and consensus there. Yeah, I'm pre-PhD in distributed systems and I have problems with it. So not everybody is Google engineer, right? So not everybody can hire this kind of people. Google will hire them. So I don't want to be back to caring about the stupid nodes. Public cloud has all the technology and power to change that. Microsoft is already doing that. Virtual nodes. They have something like, who knows Azure, basically. Yeah, cool. So Azure has this way of running containers just straight into networking, right, without nodes or VMs. It's called ACI. I think it's running, but correct me if I'm wrong, over their service fabric mesh, so basically like a distributed system done right. I highly recommend to read how it's done. It's like pristine kind of, it's like awesome. I think Lamport was doing a bit there. So they have this virtual node that you can run this. Basically, Kubernetes thinks is a node. It's using some kind of virtual kubelet. No longer nodes needed, right? It scales there. The containers run momentarily, the pods. So why the hell we still have these nodes in cloud and we click and, oh, node pool is down. Oh, cool. And we talk about scaling, and I hear conversation here, like persistent storage. Node was memory bounded. What the hell? It's like old world. It should be abstracted out, because you should be caring about value that is running there and not about nodes. I know from engineering side point of view, I love it. Like, yeah, cool. Pods and everything, controllers, operators, I love it. But from the business side, I hate it. It's like, no. But I think there's a huge value in the, let's say, plus 5 years in taking on-prem, by force to public cloud. And that's the strategy of hyperscalers. Anthos, OpenShift, all these things are built to secure on-prem jobs and in the end move them to public cloud. Yeah, so it's about abstractions, and thinking about what is actually not there, but they don't tell us that. So if you want to argue with me, I'm sure you will. Stay in touch, Darek@nordcloud.com, 71 at Twitter, or I'm at this Nordcloud booth. Yeah, thank you.